House Bill 566 by Representative McMakin. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 566 by Representative McMakin provides for eligibility for state employment and prohibits the requirement of a baccalaureate degree for employment with a state agency. There is an amendment on this bill.
Representative McMakin, why don't you go ahead and touch on your bill, then we'll introduce the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. What this bill tries to do is alleviate barriers to entry for work requirements that include a bachelor's degree. It still has in the bill, one of the concerns from people was if you are a lawyer or you're an engineer or a doctor, those degree requirements are still there. This is going to be for your most basic job opportunities to get people to start working in the state of Louisiana. So it's reducing or removing that barrier to entry, and there is an amendment as well for some clarification.
Let's go ahead and take up that amendment now. Ms. Smith.
This is Amendment Set 2218. Members, it's in your folders and it is available online. The amendment does two things. Starting with Amendment Number 2, it would add or more than 3 years of experience at the end of line 9, which in effect would prohibit a state agency from requiring more than 3 years of experience as an eligibility requirement for hiring a position in state employment. The second amendment is Amendment Number 3, which would change on line 12 appointing authority to the State Civil Service Commission, therefore providing that it's the State Civil Service Commission that will determine if an exception should be made to the provision of this law.
All righty. Representative Weibel and Farnham, any other questions on the amendment or on the bill? On both. All right. Representative Farnham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So
let's stick with the amendment on the first question.
With the first question. Is it a may? They may, or do they have to have 3 years experience?
That's a minimum.
That's a minimum?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So say somebody that's got maybe an associate degree with 2 years of experience, they wouldn't be eligible for the position.
It's not allowing them to go below that, so I'd have to maybe look into that. I'm not quite sure, but what it was a lot of times it was a bachelor's degree or 6 years of experience. So we're trying to get more people to work. So if they had that degree already, that they would be covered. So then it's a way to reduce that down is the intent.
Absolutely. That's one of the most ludicrous things in job seeking is to need experience, but you can't get experience without getting a job.
Yes, sir.
So it's the chicken and the egg thing. So I appreciate what you're doing here, and I support that.
Thank you.
All right. Representative Farnham has made a motion to adopt the amendment. Amendment Set 2218. Is there any objection to the adoption of this amendment? Seeing none, Amendment Set 2218 is adopted. Representative Weibel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rep McMakin, I can barely see you around that column, but that's okay. Probably better this way.
Don't call that a blessing.
I have a few questions. The first one is, what in particular, or maybe generally, what brought this about?
Yeah, I'm really excited. This bill was in collaboration with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber and their leadership. There's a whole effort. We're actually going to have some people come testify on this as well, on skill-based hiring. We call them STAR people. I'm actually, Mr. Kenny Wynn's going to come up here in a little bit and talk about that. And it's just a barrier to entry, getting rid of those for people that there's so many people in the state of Louisiana that are between the age of 25 and 65 that don't have that bachelor's degree or don't have that 6 years. So the barriers to entry, trying to eliminate those to get more people to work.
Sure. No, I like that. Was there any, so as I appreciate, and I read through this one a couple of times, the shall not require, right? That's what we're saying for departments. Was there any discussion about may not require? Like we're telling departments or state agencies, you cannot require a 4-year degree or more than 3 years experience no matter what. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
So was there any discussion with BRAC and other stakeholders that it should be may, not require? Just give me some background.
Yeah, so I would say that's Section B of the law we're passing. That kind of provides that in there where we allow them that does not apply if the knowledge, skills, or abilities required for the position can only be reasonably obtained or appointing authority through a course of study in pursuit of. So that I think that's your may right there. So that was why we put that in there.
Right, so who then determines that?
By the appointing authority of the group, and then state civil service was part of that amendment we just added in there.
Right, and that's where I'm going with this. So now we're going to ask, and they probably do a lot of this already, but we're going to ask state civil service to determine whether there's a degree or whether the experience. Did you get any sense of how long that process takes? Like if an agency's trying to post announcements or what have you, solicitations for applicants, and there's some maybe question about whether it should be the degree or it could be the skills, experience, and years. Any sense of how long that process would take for state civil service to come back and either agree or not agree?
I don't want to speak for them, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if they have a white card to speak for information, but we did have a meeting with them, and I will give them all sorts of credit that they are kind of doing this, to my understanding of it, going through this process right now. I would say this is just an accelerator to really get it going if they have any hesitation along the way. But each one of those groups, to my understanding, does kind of do this already, and they're evaluating that as we speak. This would just be a little fire on the edge of it to get it really going. And then also, I think, to promote this around the nation as well, that Louisiana is a place we want you to come work, and we're going to try to eliminate those barriers to entry.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that, because that was my only concern, is they would, just by the volume of work they have to do, the process would be slowed down. But I really like the bill. I think it gives a lot of young professionals in our state the opportunity to stay here, to really use their experiences and their skills. And it really, I think, opens the doors for a lot of our agencies to expand their pool of applicants when we're looking for good quality people, in particular trying to keep our people. I appreciate recruiting nationally, but I think our first step to that is to keep more of our young people here. So thanks for the bill, and I would love to co-author at some point.
I'll just add to that, Representative Weibel. In the 2022 census, there's around 1.3 million people ages 25 to 65 that had a high school diploma or GED in Louisiana. According to the census, there were 654 individuals between that age with a bachelor's degree. So that means there was about 52%, 730,000 people in the state of Louisiana aged 25 to 65 that would be ineligible for jobs that require the bachelor's degree. And so that was some of the information we used to justify this bill as well.
Thank you. Representative Lyons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got the question answered just now. I was waiting for the other gentleman to come up. That you said was going to come up a little bit to talk about the history of where they are with it. And I can wait until he comes up. Or you can.
All right. Representative Farnham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I really appreciate this, because we went through a period of time where everybody sent their kids to college, and now we're regressing from that, and they're going to trade schools, they're getting associate degrees, they're encouraged to do something besides get a 4-year degree, merely by the cost of a 4-year degree in today's world. So I appreciate what you're doing here. Break down the barriers, put the people to work, and at the appropriate time, I'd move favorable.
Thank you, Rep Farm. I'll just throw it out there. I do have 3 degrees from LSU. I was there 8 years, but I still don't think that should have been a requirement or restricting me if I wanted to go get a job, leaving high school, and then being able to go do that.
Yeah, I agree.
So it wasn't too many nights at Fred's that kept you there for 8 years.
It's a great establishment in Larry Selder's district.
So look, let me. You have a lot of green cards, and there's been a lot of positive talk about the bill. Let me ask you a couple of questions, because I've told you that I didn't let the debate go on before I made my comments known, just so you could get some energy behind it. I don't think your bill does much, to be honest. I mean, I get what it's doing in the intent of it, and with all the description you've given. But again, if somebody, I mean, you can still go through a state civil service commission. They can override it. The way it's written right now, a state agency shall not require as a condition of eligibility. Give me a description of the different state agencies we have in Louisiana. Also,
There's lots.
okay, now go through some of them for me.
Off the top of my head, I don't recall those.
University, would they be a state agency?
I guess so. Yes, sir.
So we're not going to require a bachelor's degree, or am I reading your bill wrong?
You still can, depending on what the job criteria is.
All right, so if that's the case, do we need to have this bill if they still have the ability as far as to change their criteria?
I would say we do, because right now, if they put that in there, it's such a barrier to entry. Right now, if you go look at a lot of the ones we looked up, it's going to say a bachelor's degree or 6 years of experience. So when I left high school, I was 18 years old. So you're telling me that before I can go work for these certain groups, I have to go get a degree, or I have to have 6 years of experience. So I'm 18, I have to get a degree, or I'm 24 years old,
All right.
because I'm trying to get those people to get out there and work.
And I get that, but with a broad stroke like this, let's change it. Let's get off the education side of things. If it's in accounting, we might not. So we don't need a degree, but now we've changed it to even 3 years. So now I have a financial office at one of these institutions that, and again, I understand the premise of the bill, but now I need some experience in accounting, but I don't want to require an accounting degree. All right, but if we're dealing with big dollars and it's not just basic entries into accounting systems, I may need to require a lot more experience because I am not requiring the degree. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think we're kind of pointing in a bunch of different directions, and I appreciate the intent of the bill. I just think that there's a chance that it's going to cause some problems. You got a lot of support from the committee, so I'm not going to. I'm just letting you know. I think this bill is going to end up causing some problems at some point if it makes it through the process. So we got some green cards, and by the way, I'm going to read in some green cards from the last bill that I missed. Present not wishing to speak, Keely McGibney from One Acadiana, Keen Jones from BRAC, Chris Coulon from Pivotal, Jasmine Brown, GNO Inc., Lori Adams with Pelican, and Miss Mary Susie Labrie as well. We have Kenny Nguyen with Kenny Nguyen and the 68 that's present that would like to speak. Assuming you, Mr. Nguyen?
Yes, that's me.
All right.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. My name is Kenny Nguyen. I am the CEO of 368, and I also have other businesses here in Baton Rouge as well. I'm what is known as a star, someone that's skilled through alternative routes, someone that doesn't have a traditional 4-year degree. A bill like this would be incredible because someone like me can come work for the state of Louisiana. I have a pretty atypical story here. I started a company while I was in college, and the company took off in my sophomore year. It was nuts, y'all. I would go to college, 8 to 9 a.m., fly out to New York or LA to handle business all across the state, fly back the same night to go to school the next day. That was my whole entire sophomore year. We were picking up steam. It was great. It wasn't until LSU sat me down one day and they said, hey, we're going to probably kick you out of school. Your grades are atrocious. And I begged them, please don't do that. And they made a deal with me. They said, tell you what, if you graduate college, we'll get you an internship at your dream company. Tell me what it is. And I told them like what our company did, and my advisor just cut me off. She said, tell you what, that company you just listed, we'll get you an internship there. I leaned in and I whispered in her ear. I said, hey, with all due respect, I own that company. That's my company. And she looked at me, closed the door, and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, don't you need a degree to be successful?" And she's like, "Look, I'm measured on student retention, but in good conscience, I can't keep you here. I'm going to kick you out not because your grades are failing, but because you need a jump and you need to follow those dreams." And that was a very pivotal, important moment in my life. And here's the thing. The business we have now, yes, it's very successful. I've done well for myself. But here's the thing. People call me, I'm maybe one in a million, but really I'm one of millions here. 70 million people in the workforce do not have traditional college degrees. There is a national movement called Tear the Paper Ceiling that's happening right now, where states are all joining a board to get rid of state degree requirements for certain jobs. I'm okay with not being the first, but I'm definitely not okay with being number 50. Right now, if this moves forward, we'll be number 22. We can't let Florida beat us. I'm halfway joking. But this is what I'm seeing here, is that this is a national trend where people are starting to believe if you can do the job, you should be able to have the job, right? That's important. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, you were addressing that. What are state agencies doing about this? LSU is looking to drop degree requirements for their jobs as well, select jobs, because their application rate, from what I've seen, has been dropping a little bit. They want to open the pool to more talent. Look, I need talent to make my business successful. I can't let our best export in Louisiana become our talent. We need to keep people here, and I believe something like this would keep our people here. It does matter how bills are stated, especially when you say it may not require. For folks like me, like stars, we have a certain shame not having degrees up to a certain point when we find success. It wasn't until I built a multi-million-dollar company that I felt like it was okay to address out loud that I don't have a degree. I can now turn my shame into game, but not many people have that opportunity. And that's why it does matter in language. It does matter. So this is what's proven. If the state removes degree requirements for certain jobs, organizations across the state start following suit. It's a known catalyst. 21 other states have proven it already. We can follow this movement, and this could be a beautiful thing. I really do believe so. So,
Mr. Nguyen, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur.
I am.
You're obviously good at what you do and have been very successful based on the description you just give. If you wanted to hire an in-house counselor, all right, to represent you in your business, to represent you in courts, and you wanted to make sure that that person had a degree.
Yeah.
It's your right to be able to do that. It's also your right to not do that. You can have somebody who does not have the degree. The way this bill is written is saying you shall not require the degree. So the example you gave with LSU, you're not giving them the choice in any situation to require a degree the way it's written, unless it goes to the Public Service Commission, unless I'm misreading your bill.
I would, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
I would say section...
State Civil Service, sorry. Not the Public Service Commission, the state.
It's all good. But I would say Section B allows you to do that if it's needed. And that's why we have Section B in there. We did not just make the law Section A, which would have gotten rid of all of them. Section B does allow you, if needed, you can do that. And that's where you have to put, I have my faith in the state civil service.
So why do you need the bill then? If they currently have the ability to offer it, why do you need the bill?
You need the bill, I think, to Mr. Kenny's point, to show people that you don't need the degree requirements there to force, it's a barrier to entry where they have all these degree requirements all over everything. Let's take those off and let's start from that point and then add them if needed. Right now, it's not an add it if needed. It's there right now, and all it is, all over the board, is barriers. People see that, and it's just barrier, barrier, barrier. This removes those barriers, but does acknowledge, for example, I'm an attorney, you know. There's some jobs you need to be an attorney. You have to practice law to do this. Those would be on there, and so I think that's the reason for the bill.
Okay. Representative Domingue, and again, I'm not objecting to your bill. The committee wants it out. I've already heard their voices, so just giving you that. Just wanted to make sure
I wrote down to work with you, sir.
I just want to make sure that we had this conversation. Representative Domingue.
Yes. Excuse me for missing the beginning of your bill and the beginning of your presentation. So I'm trying to catch myself up just a little bit and just kind of coming on the tail end of this. What specific jobs is this affecting? People, like, what's the specific job that someone cannot get because they don't have a college degree?
If you'll allow me to look up some of these.
Oh, yeah, and I just want to know what specific areas this is affecting.
Let's see. I don't know if do you have a list of that? Can I invite up King Jones with Brack? I think he has the list.
Okay.
I think he needs to probably do a white card as well.
No, he's got a card in, I think. Didn't you somebody from Brack turned
He
in
did,
a
yes,
card.
sir.
Yep, I'll fill out a white card here soon. Keen Jones, Baton Rouge Area Chamber. So there were
What chamber?
Baton Rouge Area Chamber?
There were a few jobs such as for CPRA. Let's see. I apologize.
He took screenshots without the top of it. Sorry.
Let's see.
It's a great question. The beginning you missed was this bill's going to pass unanimously out of committee after we're done with some questions.
So a couple of these are, we have land specialist for CPRA, DOTD program specialist, and compliance investigator for Louisiana Real Estate Commission. All of those require minimum qualifications, a bachelor's degree, with no other bachelor requirement as far as what degree is in, as well as 6 years of full-time work experience in any field may be substituted for the required bachelorette degree. You also have library associate, computer technician, both also bachelor's degree requirements.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, we can move on. Representative Wright?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna make a point. It's a little, I don't know, a little sharp, but I think it's important to talk about it a little bit to prove a point. You know, I think it's the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. You just mentioned you're an attorney and there's certain things attorneys shouldn't do. He didn't go to law school. He passed the bar. He was President of the United States, and I think most people think he's the most eloquent person. I'd argue that sometimes we need to talk about attorneys in this state, okay? I mean, honestly, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty confident, you know, top 5 or 10, maybe a little in between. We got 4 law schools. We got a lot of attorneys. We're talking about insurance and things like that. There's a lot of supply attorneys in this state, you know? And what I'm trying to say that is, you know, there's a few professions here, and I don't want to kill your bill or anything like that. I like the idea. I'll let the committee decide, but there's some professions here where we got some barriers to entry, and it's more about, you know, keeping people employed and making it a big deal. And attorneys are one of them. I mean, there's other things too. Don't get me wrong. I don't want a neurosurgeon who, you know, didn't graduate from college. I think there's some things. And then, you know, you could argue the same thing at times with attorneys as well. Look, my wife's an attorney, so I'm just saying, like, I respect the education. I respect the people who do it, but if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about all this stuff. So I'm going to leave it there. I couldn't resist. Thanks.
All right, we got one more question. Representative Boyd. Oh, maybe we have 2 more questions now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I too missed the beginning. I'm so sorry, because I actually like watching you at the mic. You're very entertaining. But earlier this week, or maybe my days are blending now, I think it was Rep Carlson brought a bill that was similar to this for librarians, so not to require them to have that degree. And I didn't say in here. I didn't say it was. I just said earlier this week. And there was a lot of talk from the librarians, came from all over. Who knew that this master's degree, first of all, even existed to be the head of a library. Blew my mind. However, it didn't get out of the committee because they were very passionate about having the people apply for that job that had this master's in library resources or library studies. And gave a bunch of reasons on why it was so important to them, because they would know exactly how to run a library, et cetera. Do you think that this would then interfere with something like that? Where maybe that specialty in being a library, whatever that is, librarian, is important, just as important as it is to have an attorney with a law degree and not a degree in pre-law.
If that's a job that, as we amended the bill to do in line 12, the State Civil Service Commission deems appropriate to have that degree there, they can do that in there. So we leave it up to them, but we start with a no barrier point, and then we can add that later. So I'll be honest, I have no clue what that degree is. I was at LSU a long time. I didn't study any of that thing. But if they,
I didn't say that you did. I was using it as an example of what's important to other people.
If they need to have it and it's important and they justify it, they're allowed to do that.
Point would be, wouldn't any degree be important to the person that's requiring that minimum degree? Just because you don't have a law degree, you might have an MBA or a Master in Finance or et cetera. Wouldn't it deem that employer must deem it important to put that barrier there?
So I would say that right now when you read the job opportunities, they don't list specific degrees, and maybe that's something we can add in there. It just says bachelor's degree. So, I mean, my bachelor's is in general studies. What did that do? You know, what is that? It's 3 minors. Shaquille O'Neal does have that same one as well, though. I just want to point that out. But right now it just says bachelor's degree.
You're very entertaining. I like that.
It doesn't require a specific one, and maybe that's some language to look into for me to add that in there. But if right now all you say is bachelor's degree, what does that tell you about the job, even what it requires? I mean, there's some other stuff later. So I think deleting that, taking that off, removing that barrier will serve our state well.
May I say something?
You good?
Yeah.
All right. Representative Billings for a question.
Hello, Representative.
Hey.
I'm over here, not behind the pole. So in reading this, could you tell me, in your opinion, that this particular bill would also remove barriers for those who are already within a system moving up the ranks for years but don't have that bachelor's degree?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So this could actually open up more positions on an entry level of those people coming in and moving through an entire system. So not just an entry level, but those that have been existing on that level for quite a while.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Billings. Very good point. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Along the same lines as Representative Billings, I was thinking about, okay, you're going to remove the entry requirement barrier with this bill. But what about the moving up that might require a degree? What happens there?
Yeah, the way the bills were worded, Ms. Representative Billings said that would go away. So, I mean,
I'm not sure, Representative Thomas, I understand.
The requirement for a degree might go away. What if the job requires a degree? In moving up the ladder, I mean, not everybody wants to. I don't know anybody who would want to stay in an entry level position for the rest of their lives. You know, I mean, I would think that people would want to move up the ladder, improve their standing, improve their education, improve their productivity, and that might require a degree. If we do this, are we negating or saying, hey, this is not important?
I don't think we're doing that. I think we're still allowing them to do that. And if people want to strive for something else, I think of Dr. Craig Green, Public Service Commissioner. His dad just recently died, so that's why it's on my mind right now. But his dad was, I believe, a nuclear engineer degree, something other degree, and then he went and got his doctorate in vet, and he was a vet. So he still had a thirst for learning and to get out there and to find what he wanted to do. And so I think we would still, if people had that, it would still allow them to do that and encourage them along the way. But this just really, I mean, the most important thing here is removing that barrier to not have people not want to apply or not want to work, where, as Mr. Kinney kind of talked about, almost feel ashamed for it if you don't have that degree along the way. But if you want to go do that, like I said, I have many degrees. I've teased with people, one day I might get my doctorate because that's the only thing I don't have right now. And so I still have that thirst for learning and to get those as well. And so they would put in, as subsection B says, they can add those in there. And if people see, hey, look, I do need maybe a master's of library to go get that position. Let me go pursue that. But it would be in there then. They would know that. And it wouldn't just be a barrier in the entry level side.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
You good?
Is somebody from civil service here to speak?
We're going to need a white card from you too, please.
You can go. Yeah. On that.
Good afternoon, Byron Decato, Director of State Civil Service. So, could you repeat your question again? I'm sorry.
Do you have many jobs that do not require a bachelor's degree at entry level?
Yes, maybe I can provide some clarity here. We do have some jobs in state service where any degree will allow you to qualify for a job. Minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree. We also have substitutions for the degree. A representative was mentioned, we have substitutions currently right now. 6 years of any work experience will substitute for a degree. Also, if you have college credit, course credit, that will, with your experience as well, substitute for the degree. There are some state agencies that have particular jobs that will require a degree in a specific field, but the majority of the entry-level jobs are just a degree. I think what we are seeing here, and we see this across the nation, and this is something that we're already starting to work on, is eliminating those barriers to getting into be able to get before a hiring manager and be able to talk about your competencies and your skills. So a mechanism like this would allow someone to potentially be able to qualify for a particular job at the entry level. And we've worked with the representative and the members from BRAC, and we do believe that between here and the floor, we could work on some language with them. But to your question about as you go up, okay, you may not need a degree to get in. Let's say right now a human resources analyst. A human resources analyst, I might be able to teach you that job coming in, very entry level. But once you get to the level of, if you want the HR director for the Department of Health, you may want some experience. Well, that person has entered the workforce. They will gain that experience. So I still think you will see where agencies will have for managerial jobs and administrator jobs, you may want a certain number of years of experience. If you have a general counsel, certainly I can hire you as an attorney, but if you're going to be the general counsel for DEQ, you might want to have 5 years or so. So, I think it's well intended. We are seeing this across the nation, and when governors put out press releases and executive orders saying they're eliminating degrees, I want to be very clear. In reality, what most people are doing is what we have done for years here in civil service in Louisiana. They have substitutions. So they're putting those substitutions first, saying, okay, a minimum of 3 years of experience will eliminate the requirement for a degree. So, I think it's well intended. I think it's the bill as proposed. I think it's in a shape that, we can address all of your concerns and the representative's concerns. At the end of the day, I do think you will have some agencies that are very, very adamant that they want a degree in a certain field. So, we work with agencies to determine the minimum qualifications. So if you're an secretary at an agency and you're having trouble recruiting individuals, you're going to say, well, Byron, the previous secretary wanted 10 years in this particular, I don't need that. For a librarian, I don't need the librarian degree. I can take a general studies degree, in which I do think Shaq has a PhD in HR, so just saying. We work with them on that. But there are people that I think will probably still, it's human nature, still have a bias towards a degree, but at least you're getting them in the door and giving them the opportunity to demonstrate that I might be able to do this job and not just write me off because I do not have a degree.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate your response.
You're welcome.
Thank you. For a question, Rep. Marcel.
Hi. I think he kind of explained the questions that I was really going to ask you. Were we moving in that direction anyway to kind of remove the barriers for people entering the state in terms of specific degrees, but where it's needed for a specific degree, we would retain that? So your bill actually supports people getting in the door that may not have a bachelor's degree. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the board is clear. Do we have any cards? Cards here. Did I hear a motion earlier? Rep. Farner made a motion to move House Bill 566. Favor with amendments. President Committee, do I hear an objection? Hearing none. 566, move favor with amendments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rep.